welcome. Thank you all for coming once again to the Constantism Study Group study on Thursdays. It was Nkrumah that once said that finally there were the vast numbers of ordinary Africans who, animated by a lively consciousness, national consciousness, sought knowledge as an instrument of national emancipation and integrity. It is not to say that these Africans overlooked the purely cultural value of their studies, but in order that their cultural acquisition should be valuable, they needed to be capable of appreciating it as free men. I was one of this number. Nkrumah concluded his introduction on Constantism. Myself and others here have also come to the conclusion that they are one of this number. One of our own brothers here attended the inauguration of the Pan-African Institute in Kenya by our own brother, Julius Malema, and he has reported that Malema also counts himself one of this number. Constantism is the philosophy and the ideology of Pan-Africanism, the radical version. Of course, there are three main versions of Pan-Africanism. There is a version called conservative Pan-Africanism, and there is a version called liberal Pan-Africanism. And then there is our version called progressive Pan-Africanism or radical Pan-Africanism. Conservative and liberal Pan-Africanism is represented by the overwhelming number of presidents and kings and queens on the continent for whom the resources of Africa must be for the benefit of one individual or a minority, one individual or a small family. The liberal Pan-Africanists also believe in Pan-Africanism, but for them, Pan-Africanism means the resources of Africa must be for the benefit of a minority. That minority can be their own nationality, some call it tribe, or the party they belong, or their business associates in terms of markets, and so on and so forth. And those are the liberal Pan-Africanists. We, the radical Pan-Africanists, do not accept the conservative and the liberal Pan-African position. Our Pan-Africanism is radical or progressive Pan-Africanism. It believes that the supreme law is the welfare of our people. The welfare of our people should be the guiding principle for the exploitation, the development, and the use of Africa's resources. For a long time now, the West and its allies have become like grown-up babies, still at the back of the black woman, sucking breasts when they are old enough to stop sucking breasts, so that the babies of Africa can suck their mother's breasts. But we have grown up Western men and women refusing to grow up, refusing to be the adults they are, clinging to the back of the African woman as if they were babies. We are saying that the time has come for that to stop. So Pan-Africanism must proceed on the fact that we are saying that the total unification, the total liberation, and the total development of Africa is the way forward. So on Thursdays, we meet and we discuss the philosophy and the ideology of progressive Pan-Africanism. We meet on Saturdays to have a conversation about the unification of Africa and the fact that the 55 colonial governments on the continent now must yield to one continental government, and only one continental government will do. Because when it does, we can sit down with big powers like the West, like Russia, like China, so on. The African continent is too balkanized to make a difference. So welcome to you all who have joined us, Sister Shireen, Brother Victor, Sister Myra, Sister Ida, Brother Pigbin, and also I welcome myself. Welcome. Although there are only a few of us, as you know, it only takes one matchstick to start a forest fire. So we may appear very small, but for all we know, we are the beginning of the Pan-African conflagration when it comes to the philosophy and the ideology for the unification, total liberation, and development of Africa. So welcome. We will read the book as we normally do. And when we read a book, and we read the book in turns, anyone can read. We're all equal in this class. We're all teachers. We're all students. And we read, and when we read, we then share our thinking. We don't share our views. We don't share our opinions. We share our thinking. Because thinking, the capacity to think, is the ultimate in on this planet. The ability to think and think clearly. So we seek you to share your thinking, and we respect everyone. We a safe space for everyone to speak their mind. Nobody is put down. Nobody is ridiculed. Nobody is made to feel a little. Everyone's thinking is important, and this is important. The thinking of every human being is as important as the thinking of everybody else. It doesn't always mean that your thinking is right, but the point we are making is that the capacity to think, that value of thinking, is a right of everyone. And in that sense, as human beings, our thinking, our capacity to think is equal. So thank you all. We are on idealism, and we looked at complete solipsism in the last lesson, and we are now going to look at incipient solipsism. Let's remember that at this point of the philosophy in retrospect, we are looking at idealism and the fact that idealism cannot serve as the philosophy and the ideology for Africa if we want to liberate, unite, and develop the continent. Cannot serve us. And why? Those are the reasons we are going into. And we heard last week, for instance, that one of our sisters said that if they met someone who was an idealist in the way in which we read it, they will signpost them to a psychologist. And I asked, why not a psychiatrist? So we will continue that conversation. So Brother Pigeon, if you are ready, you may read for us. And please, when we read very slowly for different reasons. It's not a reading club, it's a philosophical club. So we read very slowly so everybody can follow. Thank you very much. So we'll ask our own Brother Pigeon, who we love very much, to read for us. And the paragraph is already on the screen, I believe. Is that correct? And we can see the entire paragraph on the screen. So thank you very much. Brother Pigeon, unmute yourself and read for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, well, I can hear you. So I think everyone can. Thank you.
Greetings to all of you, comrades, and I'm glad to join you us again today. And I'm happy also for those who have joined us. And let's keep the struggle. So allow me read the paragraph. In incipient solipsism, like that which afflicted Descartes, one encounters a form of argument which is in its essence sincerely fallacious. Descartes says that he can think of himself as being without eyes or as being without arms, etc. In short, he claims that he can think of himself as having been deprived of any of his physical features which anyone might care to name. Whatever be the true value of this, he sets it up as a reason for saying that he can think of himself as being without a body. Though one may not wish to deny that Descartes could indeed have been physically deformed, indeed, even hideously deformed, one must, I think, resolutely maintain that disincarnation is not a physical deformity. There still remains a distinction between mere deformity and discarnation. Descartes' reasoning is of the same level as spaciousness as the notion that because one can think of a cow without a tail or horns, etc., one can think of a cow without a body. Thinking of a cow without a body is a different from is as different from the thought of a cow without a tail as thinking of Descartes without a body is different from his thought of himself without arms. Thank you. Back to you, Brother Kwame.
Thank you. So, brothers and sisters, you have read you have heard the reading. Should we reread that again, or are you happy to start sharing thoughts? And I suggest we reread again.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
always good to
everyone.
read.
Right. So in that case, Sister Shireen, can you read for us? Shireen is not ready.
And please, can I ask? There's some words that before maybe we read it, could we find out what they mean, like solipsism?
Sida,
We did it last week.
Yeah. You want to be reminded what they mean. Yeah, solipsism comes from the same root as the word alone.
Alone.
Solus, yeah,
Oh
alone,
yes,
solus, yeah,
yes.
solus, LOSOLUS. It is from the
Yes.
same word that we get solitude.
Yes, you told
Yeah,
us.
that's solitude and so on. Yeah. So
And then there
soliloquy.
was a disincarnation. Is that just
That's just leaving the body.
okay?
The spirit leaving the body is this incarnation. So the word so the word um uh, the word for body is comes from CAR. That root is also Latin again.
Mm-hmm.
It's the word for body, the human or the body. It doesn't matter what kind of body, whether it's human body or the animal's body, it's just a body. And
Uh-huh.
to disincarnate is basically to come out of your body. Or I think it has in it the idea that it comes from the Christian notion that spirits, I think is not just a Christian notion. I think it comes from the belief amongst many groups that a spirit can exist apart from the body. That you can have a spirit that um, can walk, can talk, can think, can run, and it has no body. In the same sense in which you have a dream that you are running, you are walking, and yet you are asleep. Somehow you are running, you are running, you are flying, and so on and so forth. How is that possible when you're asleep?
Mm-hmm.
So then the notion then comes, well, that is possible. Then people take it from there further and say, well, if that is possible in sleep or in a dream, then how do we know that it's not possible, when a person is not asleep? How do we know that the person is not asleep, that their spirits cannot do the things that they see in a dream? And so what it means essentially is that the spirit of a person can exist independently of that person. Now the question is that true? Just because you are able to do things when you're asleep in a dream, does that follow that if you're not asleep, does that follow that therefore your spirit can exist independently? Does that follow? That's the question. Because if you are asleep and you wake up, it means that you are alive. And how are you going to walk, talk, run, fly in a dream when you are dead? How will you know that you've come back to your body when the body is dead? And nobody, as far as you know, has died and come back and told us it is possible or not possible. And we are told Jesus rose from the dead, but so far, and nobody has met him in the physical.
Okay.
physical body.
Okay.
Have a chat with him. Know that this is what it means. How that kind of helps. Yeah. So solace alone, solitude is the idea that, and if you recall from last week, it is the idea that some people believe that the universe basically is inside us, that the universe is inside our body, that all you can know is yourself. There's no way you can be sure that I, who am talking to you, I exist. How do you know that your brain is not in a vat somewhere, and all you are hearing now is just in a vat? It's just your brain passing on messages. This class doesn't really exist. This class is all. So you are just all dreaming it. It doesn't really exist. And how will you know? How can you prove that it is not just a dream? So what he's saying is therefore is that the mind is inside us. The universe is inside us. But is it? How is that possible? If the physical body is part of the universe, how can the same universe be inside you? It's just not possible, is it? I mean, think about it. If the physical body is part of the universe, the material universe, yeah, and that makes you able to think, then how can the physical universe be inside you? It just doesn't make sense. But that is a kind of thing that idealists have embarked on, which is why Sister Mara is saying that she will signpost them to a psychologist. Anyway, let me pause there. I was just trying to explain.
Okay. And can I just check this other word? Descartes is the same as Descarnation, the same people. Are they the actual people?
He's a philosopher. No, Descartes, as
okay.
Yeah,
is that meant to be Descartes? Oh, okay.
Yeah, Descartes is a philosopher.
Yeah.
That came up with the famous saying, "I think, therefore I am."
Okay.
You know, that the capacity to think. The only thing I can be sure of, he says, is that I am thinking.
Sorry. Thank you.
And if I'm thinking, it means that I exist. Yeah. So what in effect is So what he is in effect is saying is that it is thinking. Thinking is existence. But is that true?
Okay.
I mean, before we arrive on this planet, wasn't the planet existing? So how can you say that thinking is existing? Before human beings arrived on this planet, was the universe not there already?
Okay.
No, we couldn't have been here before the universe. That's not possible. It's not logically possible that human beings came first before the universe came. Because whatever we are is from the universe. Right? So to say that thinking, there can be no universe without thinking is problematic. Because the universe was here long before thinking beings arrived.
Okay. Yes, thank you.
Very problematic. Yeah, so Descartes is the philosopher that came up with. That's why the book goes a bit deeper into Descartes. Because Descartes is an example of what is called incipient solipsism. In other words, it is a beginning of the notion that I alone is the universe. His is not the complete solipsism that I am. He's not saying that I am the only one in the universe, but by beginning to look at the universe in that sense, he's actually beginning to say that. So that's why it's incipient. Incipient means it is beginning. It's beginning to be that is starting. I hope that helps.
Thank you. Yep.
Okay. So, sister Shireen. Sister Shireen, are you there to read that paragraph for us again? If not, Sister Ida can read for us.
Oh, I was hoping it wouldn't be me.
All right, no problem. Then, Sister Myra, can you compliment Brother Pigeon's reading so that we can then discuss, share our thinking? Thank you.
In incipient solipsism, like that which afflicted Descartes, one encounters a form of argument which is in its essence sincerely fallacious. Descartes says that he can think of himself as being without eyes, or as being without arms, etc. In short, he claims that he can think of himself as having been deprived of any of his physical features, which anyone might care to name. Whatever be the truth value of this, he sets it up as a reason for saying that he can think of himself as being without a body. Though one may not wish to deny that Descartes could indeed have been physically deformed, indeed even hideously deformed, one must, I think, resolutely maintain that this incarnation is not a physical deformity. There still remains a distinction between mere deformity and disincarnation. Descartes' reasoning is of the same level of spaciousness as the notion that because one can think of a cow without a tail or horns, etc., one can think of a cow. Thinking of a cow without a body is as different from the thought of a cow without a tail as thinking of Descartes without a body. Could you please scroll it up? Thank you. So I'll start that last sentence again. Thinking of a cow without a body is as different from the thought of a cow without a tail as thinking of Descartes without a body is different from his thought of himself without arms.
Let's share our thinking now on what we have just read. And I will start with Brother Kuku, if he doesn't mind. I'd like to welcome him at the same time.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. That's a tricky one because it reminds me of I saw this picture of a Gambian, no, it's a video actually of a Gambian leader saying, the West giving us aid. It's
Brother Kuku, I hope you are speaking to your mic.
Oh, do you hear me now? Is that better?
It's better now.
Okay. So I was saying, what I've just read here, or what Sister Amara has just read here, reminds me of a video I saw of a Gambian leader saying, the West giving Africa aid is like somebody who takes your cow and just sends back the horns. Because what the West are literally doing is to extract everything, all the wealth of Africa is being sent to the West. And what we get in return is a pittance called foreign aid. So what this card is saying here, I think, therefore I am, is very misconstrued to say, I can think, therefore I can create a universe. Whereas we know that's not possible. The universe was here before. And he's challenging that. Give me a second. Sorry, somebody's calling me. So it doesn't make sense because a cow is a cow. A cow is there because of his body. Cow is there because of his horns. It's there because of his hooves. It's a cow because of everything that distinguishes it from any other animal. And if you think of a cow and it doesn't have a body, then it's not a cow. In the same way, as a human being, you cannot exist without a body. True, we are divines or divinities, as people will always call us, or we are spirits in this carbon body in which we are we are encased to live on this earth. But at the same time, we cannot say, oh, I think, therefore I exist and I can exist without the body. No. I hope that clarifies it.
Thank you very much for sharing your thinking, Brother Kuku. Let's go to Sister Shireen, please. Sister Shireen? Shireen doesn't appear to be ready. So
Can I
go
go next?
Brother Victor hand has been up.
Yes, well, I'll come to Victor in a moment. We'll hear from everyone, by the way.
Greetings, sorry, I'm just on my way home. I'm listening in,
yes.
but I can't comment. But I'm listening in, okay?
I thought so, Sister Shireen. I thought so.
I'm riding a bike, so
yeah, I thought
I
so.
need to be
No
focused.
Yeah, join
Okay,
in
well,
when you get home. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
That's all right. Yeah, Brother Victor, don't worry, we'll come to you. We'll hear from everyone. Let's hear from Sister Ida.
Thank you for that. Well, I'm very interested in what was just said about taking the cow and then sending back the bones, because I wonder about this, what is said here, whether he's implying that you can remove yourself from situations, like if the bit about if something bothers you, cut it off, or if your eye, pluck it out. But I'm wondering if he's saying that it's a bit of mind over matter, in a way, that you can choose to remove yourself from physical situations. I don't know whether he's saying that if something happens to people, or it's just that he feels very strongly that you can disassociate from mind and body. I don't know, but I think he's trying to say that people can remove themselves from their situations. But I'm not sure. So I was interested when we heard about people take away a cow and then just send you back the bones. But at the end of the day, I think even if you can disassociate, like for instance, if you're starving, even if you can disassociate from the actual going on the ground, and you can move off in your mind to somewhere else, you can't physically somewhere else manage to eat and then come back. So I'm not. I find what he's saying interesting, seeing you've given us all what the words mean.
Ida, you're breaking. Sorry, her voice is gone. Okay.
Oh, my voice is gone.
When that last
few
seconds, yeah, it went.
Oh, sorry.
Just so you know, if you want to repeat what you said in the last 30 to 40 seconds, that would be great.
Did you hear the bit about me saying if somebody's starving, they can remove themselves mentally, maybe?
We are hearing you now. We are hearing you now.
Okay. If someone's starving, they can maybe remove themselves mentally from the area they're in. But I don't think even if you disassociate your mind from your body, I don't think wherever you go, you can't physically eat. So when you come back, you're still in the same dire situation you were before you left. So I'm not fully sure about all of this. But yes, thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thinking. Let's go to Brother Victor.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Victor, remind me, you are in Kenya as well, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm in Kenya as well.
Continue, Brother. Yeah, Brother Victor. Yeah, continue, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, so I've been following. Yeah, I always tend to float in this session though, but today I'm trying to capture some of the important concepts in my thinking in regards to what I'm seeing, that every part is, if for example they're thinking of without the cow aspect of it is now bringing to me in a way that I can relate it to the governance in the continent in a way, or even how we tend to look at our frameworks of achieving different personal or even community or objective collectively. You see that, for example, we've never came to adopt an inclusive long-term framework. And that is why you see that the body might be somewhere, the tail, like you get that we are really fragmented in our approach of developing all these frameworks. So you get that today there's this leader coming up, bringing a very new way of doing something. He's strategizing on a given vision. Tomorrow there's somebody jumps in, come up with a very new way of doing the same thing, but I realize that it is now repetition. So now I'm concluding, my thinking is that we have to embrace a journey. We have to embrace a uniqueness in the terms of how we are going to be approaching our personal or even continental challenges. Because without us considering each and every critical part, then adopting a long-term strategic approach that is going to be making us know how you're going to, because these are very big challenge with us, the continent, that yes, I know that it is reflecting to us that we need it in a way that is going to be working. Because, for example, if you check at that is saying that the different parts. So my thing is just that in relation to how I'm thinking is that the continent need to take a very new shape of creating a journey, yeah, that is going to be more self-sustainable, or a model that if somebody's come up as a leader, tomorrow we elect Brother Pigdin as our president in Kenya, he's able to acknowledge the positive and the negative, and is able to grow both and relieve that what is negative. So adopting that will really be influential to our future, which means the continent up to today, we still don't have that in the continent. So I was just like referring what is there with what is there in terms of socio-economic development, because our people have never appreciated, mostly politicians have never appreciated, or even the gatekeepers of our nations that do not want us to adopt this framework. Yeah, that is my thinking. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question? Which framework are you thinking of here for adoption?
Yes.
Which framework were you thinking of in terms of the adoption?
Okay, so we have got the development framework. We can be having a framework on institutionalizing. Even for example, the other time we were in a meeting, there was some. We did say that we can be instituting a curriculum, yeah. But realize that today we wake up, we say that we're going to adopt this, yeah. But because we are seeing it in parts, we are only seeing the curriculum, but we are not seeing the part of the target, yeah. So we are like over focused on the other part. To understand by if it is the implementation phase is facing an ad, or we can be implementing it, yes. But now the long-term sustainability or the approach that is able to be inclusive, because what is there is that let me say, for example, a country like let me say, for give example with our country Kenya, yeah, we've got 5 presidents so far, but realize that what let me say a president might come with this development agenda, yeah, where the other one is coming is another agenda, but they are rotating on the same concept, only that they are more of, I do this one today, after that I forget everything. They're not developing a frame that can go up to 100 years or 50 years. So they're really 5 years, 10 years. That is what I
you're
like.
saying, yeah, so if I understand what you're saying, I'm trying to understand your thinking.
Yeah,
so you
so
are relating
my
it
thinking,
to the cow.
yeah, so my thinking on this was that we've had to embrace, let me say, if, for example, a cow, for example, it has got a body, there's a tail, let me say there's different parts, yeah? But all these parts are what build up one thing, yeah? And for us even also to embrace continuous growth, we have to embrace every part of us, very critical. And the part of us will never be appreciated by all of us. And we have to acknowledge that that is very unique. Let me say the diversity aspect is very unique. And that is what makes us inclusive in our continued journey of growth and more of creating an impact that can be well received. Yes, yes.
Okay, so basically, so if I understand your thinking, you are applying the thinking to the government of Africa. And from what I understand, you are saying that idealism as a philosophy is not adequate to enable us look at everything as a totality, that we see it in bits and pieces. That is because of idealism. All right, thank you. Thank you very much for that. Thank you for sharing your thinking with us, bro.
Thank you.
Let's now go to Brother Fogua. Welcome, by the way. Let's hear from Sister Myra, please.
So for me, it seems like they can't. Okay.
You weren't very clear. I was wondering whether it was coming from my side or from your side.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So I'm sharing the book again. So we can see it on the screen. Okay, so Sister Mara, you are sharing your thinking with us on Descartes. Some say Descartes, some say Descartes. On incipient solipsism. It's a form of idealism. Yeah, carry on, please. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think he places a lot of importance on consciousness, independent of material existence, let's say of his body, and of knowledge. You know, if he says that he thinks of himself as being without eyes, then he's denying knowing that he has eyes, right? So again, this is
okay, so we'll come back to her if she's able to come back. Brother Pigeon, you share your thinking now, please.
Okay, thank you. This is a imagination, and when Nkrumah says fallacious, it really means that it's purely like imagination. What we call it before, it was like illusion or meditation. Because when somebody tend to say that they can think of themselves without a body, so how is that themselves look like if it's without a body? And I think this what Nkrumah trying to base on the idealist thinking, that they believe that ideas and spirits can form anything, and that those ideas and spirits do not reside on a physical or materialist object. And that is impossible. And that's why they are saying, thinking of either a cow without a body or without a tail. Now, how do you think of a cow if that cow do not have a body? What makes it a cow? It's the spirit of a cow. So can you touch the spirit of a cow and say, this is what makes a cow without the body? And basically, I think Nkrumah is trying to highlight this to show the weakness of idealist argument. Because the brain or the ideas are within a body. And the body, in this sense, is matter or is materialist. So there cannot be ideas in exclusion of matter. There cannot be the idealist position in exclusion of matter. In fact, what ideas and spirits either are there are within matter. And as we say that matter is anything that occupies space, therefore those ideas and spirits should occupy space within the scope of matter. But assuming that ideas and spirits can just be roaming where there's no matter now, where would they be roaming? Or where would they be moving up and down? It's within some space. So maybe to contextualize it, it's like imagining Africa being developed or liberated in a sleep. Then you continue sleeping and expecting that now it's developed. It will remain your own illusion or your own meditation. It can only work out physically until the welfare of yourself or of the people is actually actualized. That the people, material being is actually considered is when it can become a reality. But sleeping and thinking that you are rich, and then tomorrow you wake up to drive a vehicle that was in your dream, you never have anything. And I think we tend to take too much of that ideas and thinking. Maybe, as Nkrumah said even before, on thinking of investing on our heavenly, whatever, heavenly universe, where our wealth cannot be actually be taken by moth or eaten by moth. And you tend to have that illusion of that universe, which doesn't exist. So this is what I'm trying to get here, that there's a weakness in idealist thinking, that the ideas and their spirit can exist alone. It's like what he says here, that the thinking that you can be somebody without a body or whatever, the hands and the rest, even though you're already formed. And I think most of Africans have been in the same dream, dreaming of or thinking of Africa being developed without them working for it. And they die dreamers until they wake up and work for it. And it's a clear call, having analyzed this weakness, that it takes the physical or material gain or struggle, like having good road, good health, good whatever, that can only advance us. It's not about imagining of it, because that imagination cannot actually be tangible or cannot actually transform your life if it remains an imagination. It's just an illusion. It's fallacious. Thank you.
Pigeon, I hope you are not downgrading imagination.
I'm not, but
Downgrading who?
But that imagination, if it cannot be translated to actual action, then it remains an imagination.
But the issue of Descartes' problem is not that his imagination is engaged, is it? The problem is that he's saying that the imagination can happen without a physical body. And that is what the problem is. You don't think?
No.
And I think you made that point earlier. I think that's a good point.
Yes, but my question is, if you think that imagination can happen without a physical body, which part of the body will it happen? If it is in the brain, and if it's in the brain, it's already a matter within some context.
So that is why it is fallacious. That's why his argument is fallacious, and it is false. It's a false argument, and that's what makes idealism fallacious. Because idealism is saying, and you've pointed that out, idealism is saying that you can have imagination without a body. How is that possible? How can you imagine anything without your physical body? And if it is possible, then was there a body in the first place? Right? So that is the fallaciousness of idealism.
Please,
thank
you
very much.
Please, can we clarify that word?
What word?
Fallaciousness. Are we
False.
talking? Are we
False.
saying lie? False.
It means
Okay.
false. False.
Thank you.
What does
Thank
fallacious
you.
means is false.
Thank you.
And the reason it's false is that you can't have an imagination without a mind. You can't have a mind without a brain. You can't have a brain that is not in a body. You know, yes, you can have a brain that is in a vat. A vat is it's like a tube, a test tube, a big test tube. Yeah, and then you have the brain inside, and let's say the brain is working. The brain is fed with tubes, as if it was in the human body, and the brain is working. So the brain has not died. The brain is alive. Just as in hospitals we say that they say somebody is not brain dead, meaning that um, their brain is still working, but their physical body is gone, but their brains are working. The reason their brains are working is because they have been plugged into a machine that enables the brain to be alive. And then at some point, when it is believed that that person can never return to their physical, when their physical body cannot assume its normal properties, like walking and talking and rising from the bed and speaking to their parents and children and so on, brothers and sisters, then the machine is switched off. And then they say the person is dead, is brain dead. Yeah. So yes, you can argue that it's possible for a brain to be alive without the physical body doing anything. It's the same thing as saying that I can be asleep and be dreaming. But to then go ahead and say that, therefore, you can have imagination without a physical body. Because even when the brain, even when the body is in a machine, it is still in part of the physical world. So that is why idealism is deeply, deeply fallacious. And Brother Victor drew our attention to the application of this thinking to development of Africa. Brother Pigeon has done the same, where he said that. So, for example, if you are just praying, you're praying for whatever, you're praying for money, or you are praying for a new house, or whatever you are praying for, and you are imagining in your prayers, and you believe that just by that imagination, you can have a house. Now, maybe you will have a house, but a nation just pray, and then houses will be built in the nation. Nation will we wake up, let's all pray, and then somehow houses will be built in the nation. Those are the stories for children. There are a lot of stories about. There's one called what? I can't remember the name. Where the boy woke up in the morning. The boy planted a seed in the garden. When he woke up, the seed had turned into a plant, and the plant had grown into the heavens. And then he climbed the tree, and then when he arrived at the top, he was in heaven. He was in a different world. Or you have stories about how a poor tailor was so poor he couldn't sew things, and then he went to sleep, and then some spirits came, some fairies came, and they sewed all the clothes for him. All that kind of nonsense. Yeah, idealist nonsense. And so can we really say that let's just pray, and then when we finish praying, suddenly the land will be full of houses, good furniture, uh, good pipe-borne water, beds in the bedroom for the children to sleep in. Our own bed will be wonderful. We don't have to. The carpenter doesn't have to. Carpenter doesn't have to do any work. That surely is nonsense, isn't it? So I think this paragraph is drawing our attention to the fact that idealism is deeply, deeply fallacious. Fallacious because things that can think without a body. Problem is, when you are think, Once you are thinking that you are thinking without a body, you are still part of the body. That's a problem. Once you are thinking that you can think without a body, the problem is that you are still in your body. Come on. So it's just so deeply fallacious. We've got some hands up. Brother Coco and Brother Sister Myra. Sister Myra, it's good to be. I hope your line is now working okay. Let's hear from Brother Coco.
I think so. I'm on my phone now.
Yeah, we can hear you better now. But Brother Coco's hand was up first, so I'll come back to you. Myra.
Please let her finish first, then I'll come in.
Sister Myra, finish your thinking, and then Brother Coco will come in after you.
All right. So I was just going to say that it looks like Descartes is placing a lot of primacy on consciousness, independent of his material body and knowledge. Like, because if he denies that he has eyes, then he's denying that knowledge that he has eyes. And I can relate this to, there's idealism has an element of, if I don't perceive it as real, then it doesn't exist. And I can really relate that to slavery. Black African bodies were not valued, but they were seen as just to be used, to be abused. And even up to now, I can relate it to foreign policy, because they have their democracy, the imperialists have their democracy, which works like a well-oiled wheel most of the time. Then they preach that democracy to us. But we have, just look around Africa, we have old men that have been in power for, 50, 40 years? But they don't say anything about, the imperialists don't say anything about that because that suits them. So I think Descartes' philosophy, it denies humanity, the humanity of others. Because they say that I am the universe. And
Samara,
yes,
Samara, before you continue, just bear in mind that instancing your term old men can be read as ageism.
Okay.
So bear that in mind. You can.
So can I call them? Can I call them impact time?
Sorry, we can. No, what I'm saying, you can say what you are saying without saying old men, because the problem is not that they are old. That's not what the problem is. Not their age.
Yeah.
In this country where we are, the monarch was, how old was she when she died? Do you remember? Was she 90 something?
90 something?
Yeah. I mean, I'm talking about Queen Elizabeth. How old was she when she died?
90 something.
Yeah.
Her husband was 96 or older.
Did you ever hear anybody complain that the queen was too old to be the queen? No, nobody complained. Nobody complained that the head of state of this country was old. And when it comes to Africa, we are told that some of our presidents are too old. The issue is not the age. The issue is that they are not doing what they should be doing. The reason they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing is because of neocolonialism. So let's take the age issue out of it. If a president is young and it's a neocolonialist, they will do exactly what the old ones are doing. It's not a question of age. It's a question of the system that is in place. I just thought I would draw your attention to
point.
Accusation of ageism, which, as you know, in this country is illegal because of the Equalities Act 2010. Thank you. Carry on.
We have these people that have been in power for ages, absolutely following the agenda of the imperialists and not of the people. But that's fine. That's not condemned. That, as long as they serve external interests. But I also think that in Descartes' thought, there is that element of denying humanity of the other, that's othering, and denying that humanity of the other because they're different is denying that we are all made of the same material. And as long as there's that thought process, there will always be racism. However subtle it is, however obvious it is, it just breeds that racism. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Thank
Yeah.
you for sharing your thinking. Whilst you are on, because you are doing a causality on this. So why do you think that Descartes attacks his own body? What is it that is in the Western psyche that makes them sometimes hate their own body? And we see that, although that is not clear here, that is a form of it. The hatred of the human body. That some human beings hate the way they look. And it's not sometimes taken seriously, but it happens when for example, a woman may say, I'm fat, I hate my body. Or a man would say, you know, my leg is this, I don't like my leg, or I don't like my nose, I don't like the way my nose looks, and so on. In other words, that hatred of the human body. So, Sister Mara, do you detect that in what we are reading here?
I hadn't thought of it, but and I see it now that you've mentioned it, and it's a very interesting observation. And as to why, maybe just at a guess, maybe because it has limitations, it gets old, it's weak, and maybe they want to see themselves as strong. I don't know.
I must admit that it's not one way. There are those who have black bodies who also want to have
Yeah.
non-white bodies. So they use creams and so on.
Yeah.
So, and then there are those with white bodies who want it to be dark.
Yeah.
And so they go and dry themselves in the sun like saltfish. So they will get darker and so on. The point I'm making here is that you detect that attack, that the wish to be this incarnation, detect that. That's what I was trying to get. Whether you detect that in that idealism has its roots, could have its roots in that, in that view of the human body as not that which we hate. We hate ourselves. We don't like the body we are in. We prefer another type of body. Even if that body is a spiritual body, we prefer it far more than the physical body we are with. I was just wondering whether you had picked that up.
No, but that's very interesting. I never thought of that, but that's very interesting. And then, because sometimes human beings will project. So let's say, for example, I'm a thief, then I'll think that all my comrades here are also a thief. So I guess if they hate their bodies, then they're not going to love other bodies. They're going to project that onto other people, maybe.
And if you have a body, if you have a body you don't like and you prefer a different body, and that body you prefer is a body you will never have, then you discredit that body and say that it is bad, it is evil, it is this, it is dark, it is, you associate it with everything bad out of jealousy and envy.
That's really interesting. That's an eye opener. Thank you, Brother Connie.
So in looking at incipient solipsism, I was trying to get at whether we are getting at the problems with idealism when it comes to imperialism. Because what is imperialism basically? Imperialism basically is that this mother's milk must be mine or for my children, whether not for the mother's own child. If you look at it very simply, the black woman's milk, no, I must have that for my child. Well, if the black woman is so bad, so evil, so not good, the black body is not what you think is worthy, why would you want her to be the maid in your house, to be the woman who looks after your children? Why would you want to be the one who breastfeeds your child? Why would you see? So there's a contradiction there. And so from idealism, we are kind of getting at the roots of idealism and why it is so fallacious. Brother, Sister Shirin, I take it you are back in the house now. So we'll come to you. Let's hear from Mother Coco, and then we'll hear from Sister Shireen, who I believe is now off her bike.
Hopefully she hasn't fallen. Good. I appreciate all the comments everyone has made, and the class is good for that because people
Although
can
we haven't
come.
heard from everyone yet. Brother Foucault hasn't spoken yet.
Okay.
Sister Shireen hasn't spoken yet. But yeah, carry on.
All right. So what I just wanted to say, I attended a session this afternoon or earlier this evening from my country where they were talking about the customary law and comparing that with common law, which was imported from England. And I think the magistrate who spoke there said something really interesting in that as the law are made to help the people. And the people are not made to suit the law. It's that distinction which we have to realize. And I'm saying this because what has happened is that we have taken capitalism, which was
Brother Coco,
yeah,
I'm happy you continue your thought.
yeah.
But as you are sharing, you're not sharing directly from the book. Can I ask you something?
Go
Do you
ahead.
not think that the way you've framed the beginning of your sentence is problematic? Because if you're saying the law is not made for the people, surely in a democracy, it's the people who make the laws for themselves. And once laws have been made for the people, then we are talking about a conservative society or a liberal society. But if that society is progressive, it means the people themselves are making laws for themselves. If the people are making laws for themselves and they are the origin of power and they make the laws, then if they don't like a law, they change it. But when we begin to think of laws as being made for the people, do you not think that we are now moved from the progressive to the liberal and the conservative?
I guess your question says that you didn't get what I said. The laws are made to suit the people in the environment in which they be. We don't take the people.
Yeah, but Coco, I'm challenging that. I'm saying that. Shouldn't it's up to you how you express yourself, but I'm saying that I can detect the same thinking. The laws are made to suit the environment the people. I am saying that it is the people who are making the laws. The laws
Yes,
are not being made for it's the people that should make the laws.
absolutely.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, an argument on that. And what I'm saying is we can't take the laws which were made in another environment to come and implement in an environment which requires different laws, or people are living differently, and then they have to adjust to the laws from another locality. That was my point. But within a democracy, if a democracy is functioning well, the people who are making those laws, of course, they will be looking at their own conditions, their own material and needs and conditions in making those laws. So in this case, I was thinking more by Descartes saying, I think, therefore I am. They can argue that they are the ones who think, and the Africans don't think. So the Africans have to take whatever laws they come up with. But that is not how it has to happen. And I think it ties well with what Sister Myra said, that they didn't value the human bodies. They didn't value the human, the black bodies in short. But we have to think that we have a different environment, and our environment has to suit the law, or the laws have to suit the environment under which we live and operate. And nobody can say to us, "Oh, you didn't think, therefore you deserve what you get in the end." You come up with what you think is for your own environment. If you get what I'm saying.
Okay. So if we go by what Sister Mara was saying, fine. But you could also say, from what Sister Mara is saying, that because they are thinking of Descartes is thinking of himself without a body, therefore it tends towards not valuing bodies, the bodies of black people and how our bodies were misused. But you could equally say that when someone projects onto a body, the absence of value, that could just be psychologically, could be what the psychologists call projection. That because they themselves don't value their body, they have projected that onto other bodies. So the thinking of Descartes right now. So Descartes basically in this paragraph is revealing to us the source of the racism as far as the black body is concerned. That it is coming from the wish, if you like, to dissociate yourself from your body, and to say that somehow you can think of yourself without a body. How is that possible? Well, then surely you must be deformed. You must think you are deformed. And then Nkrumah makes the point that perhaps you are deformed. And that deformity could be just the fact that you are not like the majority, the global majority. Because the global majority on this planet are either brown or black. That's the global majority. The Caucasians are just a minority, aren't they? And so that maybe you look at yourself and you're not part of the global majority. And therefore you want to think of yourself without that kind of body. So I'm just following the thoughts here. All right, let's hear from Sister Shireen. Thank you.
Greetings, everybody.
Greetings.
I was basically going off of what Brother Kwame was saying about the deformity, and how, but you've kind of explained what I was going to say, if I'm honest.
You must still share your thinking. It's okay to share your thinking. If you're thinking coincide with somebody else's thinking, that's okay. If it doesn't coincide, again, it's okay. The key thing is that you are sharing your thinking.
I think this is kind of where, like, if we're to look at this whole, the word that I used in one of my own personal statements this week was transformation. And that can be, interpreted in many different ways. But in this modern day term, it's interpreted as, or shortened to, trans. Now, there are a number of people, there's a small number of people who may be going through this trans phase. And there are a lot of people, a majority, a huge majority of people who aren't. Now, the trans phase is quite an individualistic motion for one to take, and for one to actually believe that they are something that physiologically they aren't. Now it's kind of like where Descartes is saying that he can think of himself as being without eyes or as being without arms. In short, he claims that he can think of himself as being deprived of any of his physical features, which anyone might care to name. And it's just like, for example, today, where, if you're a man and you want to be a woman, you can go to a surgeon and the surgeon will manipulate. Am I going off the point, Brother Kwame?
No, go on. You are sharing your thinking. Carry on.
But where surgeons have now allowed the individual to project what they want as a transformation on their own bodies, is kind of a self-hate type of a thing. And they're able to, on the outside, appear to be something which is not what the original essence of the soul is. So even though you can change your external look, you could even remove certain organs and stuff, You can even change your voice. Ultimately, how you've come into this world, you will always be that thing, or you will always be that.
So
I don't want to call it.
okay,
An,
so what you are sharing is that to use scientific terminology here, so we're all clear on what you are saying. You are saying that when we are born into this world, we are of two types. You are either XX chromosome or XY chromosome. So XYs are males or men, and XX chromosomes are women. And so I'm using now the scientific terminology for what makes a woman a woman. So all human beings, all of us, we are who we are because our mothers uh, donate a certain number of chromosomes of genes, and our fathers also uh, uh, also donate it, and then these genes fuse together
23 and
and
23.
23 years, yeah, and then when they fuse, that which makes a woman is the X, that the both XX, that X is what makes you a woman, and if you are XY, you are a man. Yeah, so that's all you're saying. And so if you are then born a woman, and then you can think of yourself as not an XX chromosome. That's what I think you are saying. Is that correct?
That is correct. But science today can manipulate the end product to be what the individual wants or projects them or perceives themselves to be. But ultimately, you will still be whoever do
So
you know what, do you understand what I'm trying to say? You
when
can't.
you change the body of a cow, is that still a
Yes,
cow? I mean, Brother Pigeon asked a question. When you
yes.
change the body of a cow, is that still a cow? Can you think of a cow without a body? I mean, what is it that makes a cow a cow? And can we think of a cow without a body? Is that possible?
No.
So we
And I,
are into idealist terrain here. And as you know, idealism has no science to offer us.
mhm.
There's no scientific tradition that is based on idealism. So even after they do all this thinking, they still have to go to materialist science to change their bodies, even after they
Yeah.
have done all this imagination. Yeah.
And then and in some people's eyes, it may be seen as a deformity, just like if I'm going to use a modern day
Ah, but then,
term, yeah,
then other people find offensive. Now, why are you saying I'm deformed? That is how I feel. I feel I am a
exactly.
man, or I feel I'm a woman. Now, when you say that you are being offensive, you're not accepting me for who I am, and and so on. So one has to be careful with language these days.
Of course, of course.
I've just come from a class where the trainer was using the word female, and another woman said, "I'm sorry, trainer, you can't use that word. A female has a certain connotation. You must use the
Oh
word
my
woman.
goodness.
I use the word woman because woman is more embracing of all types of females. You see what I mean? So it's an interesting debate. I'm not sure I understand all of it myself, but thank you, Sister Sharon, for your thinking. Let's go to Brother Fukua, who hasn't said anything yet.
Can I just say it's interesting before, well, sorry, Brother Folkwa, that they think that there are many kinds of women. That
Yeah,
goes to a headache. Thank you.
let's not go into that at the moment. Let's hear from Brother Fukua.
Started it.
That's if he's with us, because I'm sure he's with us. Brother Fukua, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. I've been following the discussion.
Let's hear from your thinking. You don't need to say anything about all we've been sharing about trans and all that. Just share your thinking on the reading. Of
Yes,
course,
the reading. We're talking about Renee.
Feel free to share whatever you like on the reading.
Just from as I was reading through the passage, that third word, solipsism, that you see jump out there, and then the way I've been seeing the idea related to it, it's the basic conflict when we have this old argument. It's between whether is it that consciousness precedes matter, or is it that matter precedes consciousness? I think that this is the essential argument that Rene Descartes is well known for bringing up into the whole European landscape of what they call enlightenment. And just as Kruma's trying to weigh the ideas, confusion, you see, it actually is, because if you take solipsism, it's like this whole concept that we could say that the mind is the only thing that essentially exist. And what Rene is doing here is that he's speaking specifically from the perspective of his own corporeal mind. And that's why when we try to read it and really try to get a value for what type of angle that he's trying to say, that when we talk of human minds, the self of each individual is all that there is. And that because you are able to essentially use your imagination or visualization or all of your experiences, essentially, that since they are your own, and you can actually experience them in your own subconsciousness. And I guess it's like he's trying to say that this is all justification for you to know that you truly do exist. And the danger in all of it is that it kind of isolates the individual into at last maybe assuming that they perhaps are all that exists. That's the danger of such a conception, because you start to think that other people don't exist,
But
and
that is
that
what they
your
are
mind.
saying, Brother Foucault.
Yes.
Brother Foucault, that is what they are saying. It's not that that's the danger. That is the thesis. That which exists is exactly that. The consciousness is the only thing.
Then it's really conflicting. You see it, because I tried to go further than Descartes, because there's recent concepts that have come out, like earlier you were talking something about this the EKG machine, and how when someone dies, you know, the EKG machine, the EKG, it tries to register you know, physical sensory phenomena about the person's brain waves, the person's heart, their lungs, their blood pulse, all of those things. But I don't know if we're familiar with this concept of near-death experiences. That there are people who have reported that they've been in hospitals. These scientific instruments, the EKG, has registered that they've actually physically died, but then they come back. Some people, I've heard stories of a few minutes, some people a few hours, some people even a few days. We can look at some examples. I can send them to the forum, which made me try to reason that if you take this away from Descartes, trying to limit it to his own perception of self, that what we see as human consciousness is not limited to just our physical mind and brain. That modern there's some modern teachings, like there's a gentleman, Nick Bostrom. He's talking a lot about this simulation theory. Even Elon Musk is really promoting this idea that what we know as our mind, our consciousness within our bodies, is actually not limited to our brains, but it's supposed to be a part of now what they call the quantum field. There's a field of conscious energy, essentially, that exists between all human beings. And even they have this what was it? He calls it a quantum effect, that they've actually been able to measure and realize that when we observe anything, it actually alters the how they explain it, that they did some test where they fired some particles and discovered that when they would observe the particles, they would be moving in a particle form, but when they didn't observe them, they saw it moving away from, yes, it was photons. Yes, they fired photons and discovered that when you observe photons, they move in particle form.
Brother Foucault, you are referring to the wave particle theory of light.
Yes, yes, that is it. That is it. I'm glad you also do this research. So that, I mean, I'm glad you're for it, because it makes me start to reason that maybe at the time of Descartes, they didn't have the level of awareness and science to properly name where he was going in such a way that what we have to realize today is that there is a relationship between consciousness and matter which cannot be separated. That's what I wanted to say. Because Descartes takes it into idealism.
But Foucault, that's not our contention. Our contention is not that there is a relationship between consciousness and matter. That's not the contention. Our position is that there is. That's consciousness's position. And that is also the Marxist position, that as you work and you are working with materials from the universe, and your body is part of it, that it changes your own consciousness. So
yes,
that is not
there's an influence,
the
contention.
The contention is that what they are saying, that's where the contention is, that consciousness is primary. That is the contention. And the hardcore idealists go further and say that actually only consciousness exists. That which we call Foucault is just consciousnness. Foucault doesn't really exist. Foucault is not a material body. It's just consciousness. That's the hardcore idealists. So we accept that there is a relationship, but the contention is which one is primary. And when you look at the human body and consciousness, and then to say that the human body exists because of consciousness is problematic, because you're only conscious because of the human body in the first place. So how can you say that the body exists, the body is secondary to consciousness, when consciousness itself is conscious because of the human body in the first place? That is the fallaciousness of idealism.
What I think is that maybe we're not acknowledging the fact that matter and consciousness, the relationship between matter, consciousness, and energy. Perhaps we could look at it like that, because energy itself, by Einstein's theory, when energy moves very fast and it accelerates as light, it gives the impression or the illusion. Wait, let me land. Because light moving at a very high acceleration.
Sorry. Foucault, I was going to say, Foucault, I was going to say that when we say matter, when we say matter in science, don't separate it from energy. We are talking about.
But this is the question. Let me ask you: Is energy matter to you? Because to me, I don't view energy as
energy is matter. What is matter to you? What is energy to you? How do you see energy?
Well, if we're looking at the law of thermodynamics and trying to relate the way the universe is structured, we know that nothing can be created and that nothing actually can be uncreated as far as energy is concerned. It only is changing form. So there has to be a balance between whatever would have created the universe and its relation to it becoming the physical matter that we are perceiving it as today. And whatever we are perceiving physical matter as today, it wouldn't have been in that state at the foundations of what we call existence.
You see, you are thinking of physicality as matter. When we say matter, we're not talking about physicality. Physicality is there, but when we say matter, matter is not physical. The same way as air, we say air is matter, but is air physical? No. So matter is not about physicality.
But the Eastern tradition has always made us understand that matter is just a maya. It's an illusion. Even the physicality of it, it's an illusion. And that's what they try to bring with the law of thermodynamics, that it's energy which is giving us the illusion of matter that we are perceiving with our consciousness. See it.
But that is the idealist position, you see. That's what you are referring to, is the idealist position.
Not idealist. This is now quantum theory. So it's left the domain of
Yeah, but
idealism in the modern 21st century and become now a science, which they're using the idea of quantum superposition and all of these new
but
wonderful theories to try to broaden on the fact that there should be some conscious energy permeating the atom and reality, which has a type of a type of how can you say a rudimentary intelligence of its own
but
that allows
uh,
it to know that it has to maintain the
yeah,
basic
but
reality
but
that we
brother, the
are.
Bohr view, that is a view. Yeah, but hold on, but that is a view. Yeah, but that is a view. That is one view in the quantum world. It's not the totality. That is one view of what matter is. It's not. It doesn't say. It doesn't mean that that is what the entire scientific community thinks. That is one view. It's not the same way as we are saying that there are two opposing views of what constitutes the universe. There are those who are materialists and there are also idealists. You understand? In the same way, you have that in physics as well. And those who are going down the quantum realm, like you are saying, are the idealists in science. And they are trying to say that. Anyway, it's an interesting discussion if you want us to have it. It comes up in chapter it's here in constantly, by the way. It
Okay,
comes
Kuma
up
touched it.
in chapter
Wow.
more in chapter. Oh yeah, it's in chapter 2. It's in chapter 2, so we will come across it. The wave particle theory of light, that is the basis for all you are saying, is in quantism. So we will deal with it. Maybe we'll deal with it when we get there. In this chapter, we are looking at philosophy in retrospect. The time is 2 minutes past 9. Maybe conclude what you want to say, what you are saying, and then we'll bring the class to a close. Because I don't want it to appear
No,
that
I've
I
already
am
concluded. That was
getting the
just my
way of your.
contribution. I was trying to just kind of,
Okay.
take it out of the box to look at it from another dynamic, I suppose, because like you've just concluded, and we do know that what Descartes is pressing is pure idealism. Solipsism it's even close to madness if you're moving around thinking that you're the only thing in existence and everything exists purely on the basis of your thoughts and you being able to conceive yourself. It doesn't even make sense because there are other people who are also selves. So are they also reasonings in solipsism opposite talking to you? If you are a being talking to me, I'm a being talking to you, and we are both selves, then it means that obviously I should not imagine myself to be the only self truly in existence. I'm here speaking of my comrade Kwame. I heard Brother Cook. I mean, it's funny. That is why I said, this European philosophers, we must be wary.
And the view, and the view that it's mind that determines matter is a uniquely quantum thing, but it doesn't follow that it's accepted by all scientists. So that's the point I'm making. There are physicists who are materialists in every sense, and there are physicists who are idealists in the same way as there are scientists to church, there are scientists who don't go to church. They're everywhere. Anyway, thank you very much for actually you've dragged us to chapter 4 of Constantism. Not just chapter 2, but chapter 4. So for those of you listening, you can detect there very interesting things that will come up as we discuss Constantism. Let's just get our final thoughts. I know it's 9:04. Let's get final thoughts, a few words before we go, starting with Sister Myra.
As some of the discussions were going on, it made me think of how another aspect of idealism is how it imposes its ideals on other people because they think that they are right and there's no room to say no. Yeah, thanks.
And they will kill you.
Yes, exactly.
If you don't accept their version of the universe.
Yes.
They will cut off your head. Yeah, they've done that in the past.
Yeah.
They are called the Crusaders and so on and so on.
Yeah.
Brother Foucault, I think you've already I'll go to Brother Foucault.
Are you muted? We can't hear you.
Okay.
Brother Kwame, we can't hear you.
Can't hear me. Can you hear me now?
Yep. Thank you.
I'm not mute. Okay. Yeah, we're getting final comments before we. It's 9:05. I want us to bring the meeting to a close. So let's hear final comments. We've heard from Sister Myra. Brother Foko has spoken, so I'll skip him. Brother Coco, final comments.
Thank you. It's been an interesting discussion tonight. Again, underscoring the need for tolerance, the need to listen to other people's perspectives. Again, it's we can discuss and agree to disagree, but also listen to each other's perspective.
Very much so.
Thank you.
Finding us that is what we do in this class. We listen, share our thinking, we listen out of respect. Thank you so much for reminding us. So Shireen, final comments. So Shireen, final comments. If she's not ready, let's go to Aida for final comments.
I'd like us maybe to start next week with what you have to say on this paragraph. Thank you.
Which one? The next one or the current one?
This paragraph we just read, because we haven't really heard your view on it either. Thank you.
Thank you. Brother Pigeon, final comments.
Personally, I'll say that that thinking is just fallacious. Just as simple as that. And therefore, it's not worth any attention or anything, because it makes us live in illusionless Africa, because in itself, it can't answer any solution. It's never concrete, and therefore, it's not worth. That's what I can say. It's meditation.
Thank you. You can stop the recording now. So thank you, brothers and sisters.